Hello, hello, hello. All my radio guys are going. Hello out there in Radio Land. My video guys are going. Everybody's going. I'm just going to crank up the sound of the headphones to make sure I'm coming through loud and clear to everybody today. Don't want to miss a minute of finally Friday. I mean, this is what the show is all about on this beautiful day out there. My goodness, the weather's hanging tough. It was 70 degrees at 5 this morning when I was up. And it's up to 80 now, so it's going to be a cooker. I mean, I had to throw water on my lawn last night. It's drying out. I don't want to lose it. I don't want it to die because it's a lot more for sod than it is for lawn that's already there, right? Or fool around with seeding it. So I gave it a little drink last night. I can't remember the last time we had rain. Can you? I don't know. It was probably a few weeks ago. I mean, nothing major anyway, a little bit overnight, maybe a week ago or a week and a half ago. But we're not looking at any substantial rain till next Tuesday, which is fine by me. I don't mind. So I'm going to have to give my lawn a drink every once in a while. Until that, my name is Paul K. Lemire. This is Your City, Your Voice, like it says up there in the studios of 4680Q in beautiful downtown Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada, across from the meteor crater. If you're wondering where I am every day, I look right at the meteor crater. You can't miss me in the studio if you're downtown around noon to 1 Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, and noon till 1 on Wednesday with absolutely all Habs all show. Geez, I'm just flipping through my phone, and I just jammed on the Flight Radar 24 to see what's going on. I always look at the planes when I'm sitting around seeing what's coming over, because Niagara Falls is a pretty active place for all kinds of planes going into Pearson Airport in Toronto, Buffalo Airport in Buffalo, Niagara Falls, New York Airport in Niagara Falls, New York, just over the border here. And I see this big C5 Galaxy just south of Buffalo coming our way. And didn't it go over my house 4 times last night? Amazing. And a C5 Galaxy is probably the second biggest cargo plane in the world. They use it in the U.S. military. It carries tanks. It carries trucks, cars, armament. You name it. It carries everything. It's huge. I was in one in Niagara Falls, New York at the air show at the air base over there. It's a refueling wing in Niagara Falls, New York. The Galaxy was there. And I'm telling you, you could 50, 60 people sitting under each wing. That's how massive they are for shade out in the tarmac. Just amazing planes, and you don't see them very often. I haven't seen one in the air flying around here for 20 years. Seriously, it's just not something you see. You see a lot of the C-17 Globemasters, a lot of those planes flying around, even the Hercs, the C-130s, but the Galaxy, it's just not around. The C5 Galaxy, and there's a smaller version, C3 Galaxy. I haven't seen one of those in years, but this thing is huge. And it was flying around 3,500 feet over the city, and it's doing like 280 knots or something like that. It's moving, but it's so big it just looks like it's floating in the air, that it's barely moving. It's just an amazing plane, and to have 4 passes come right over my house last night. That was amazing. And I did message my buddy Tim Shafley, because he would be out there with his camera, but he was in St. Catharines. He may have got a quick look at it because it did fly down towards Port Dalhousie in that area and then come back. It did a touch and go in Niagara Falls, New York, probably training because it was out of Dover, Maryland, the Dover Air Force Base. And then it took off and went back south. So interesting. When you see one of these, you don't see them that often. And, you don't see C5 Galaxies often, but you know what you see often? Cars broken down on the side of the road. And you know why? Because they didn't take them to Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop and get their car checked over before they decided to get out on the road and go on a trip. And Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop, one of my great sponsors, along with Pete's Pizza, Victoria Avenue, Hamill Machine Company, and the Niagara Parks Commission. You make sure your car doesn't break down. You make sure that your car is not one of the ones I see on the side of the road waiting for CAA or some other superhero to come and rescue them. And it's very simple. You be proactive. You take it to Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop. You get Ken Hunter to do the once over on your car. He throws it on the computer. He diagnoses any problems. If there are any, maybe not. He looks at your brakes. He does a full systems check, fluids, air conditioning. He tests it all to make sure that you have a happy summer of motoring. And you know what's really weird is that this time of year is when everybody wants to go anywhere. They want to go to the exhibition at the end of the month. They want to go here. They want to go there. They want to do it all. You use your car. You want to make sure it's running right. Just take it to Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop, and he'll take care of it. They have a full body shop there. If you get in a fender bender or a big wreck, they'll fix your car and send it to you in showroom condition. They're very good at what they do. WildBillsAuto.ca. Go there and check it out. Just check out the different things they do. Support our sponsors because they support us. Tell them Paul from Your City, Your Voice sent you. And while you're on the internet checking Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop, WildBillsAuto.ca, don't forget to go to the video here and subscribe. We have an election coming up. There's lots going on with City Council and what's going to happen before the election in 2026. You want to be informed. You want to be aware. The budget's coming up. You want to know what our councilors are doing. And to be able to do that, you sign up here and you get notifications. You watch the video, you don't get notifications. You don't know when they're there. Subscribe, get notifications. You'll see when I drop a video. It's pretty simple. The more the merrier to this party I call Your City, Your Voice. And leave comments. We love your comments. I want to talk about your comments. And the only way I can is if you leave them. Simple. Hit the subscribe button. Help the algorithm. Help get this show out there. The more the merrier. We want an election where we elect the people we want, not 27% of the people of Niagara Falls want, because that's all the turnout was last time. Dismal, unsettling, ridiculous, but that's all it was. So let's get involved, everybody. Sign up, subscribe. Okay, no viewer comments. Any that I get, I'll do them on Monday. No viewer comments today. So we'll just get right into the show. And I read an interesting article today, and geez, I forgot to take down who it was, who wrote it. Maybe Alan Benner. I'm not sure. And I apologize to the review because all the guys there, John Law and Ray Spiteri, Allison Langley, Bill Sawchuk, there's a bunch of them that write, and I can't remember who wrote this story. Alan Benner, I think. But it's about this guy named Stephen Seuss. And I'm going, that name sounds familiar. And then I remembered who he was. And if you remember, the guy that gave the deputation at City Council council meeting last time, Stephen Seuss, talking about the victims of crime and Indigenous reconciliation, is on the agenda to speak to that. Now, this story was about him, and I'll get into what this story about him was. But if you remember that during the delivery of this delegation he gave, it was video, it was on video, he wasn't live at the City Council meeting. He spoke of releasing the names of sex offenders and where they live, and because they're a danger to the community, and people should know that they live in their neighborhoods. And I agree, 1,000%. 1,000%. If you're going to let these guys go, we got to know where they are, because you don't want your kids next on the list. And these guys do reoffend. So I agree with him there. And his point was that they named drunk drivers, but not sex offenders. He also wants resources for victims of crime so they can get help if they need it. He was talking more, I think, about mental health, because when you're a victim of a crime, any kind of crime, even a break and enter your house, you feel violated, your house is broken into, and somebody's rummaging around through your stuff where you're not there. It's creepy. It's creepy. Some people are mentally affected by that. And if you're a victim of assault or anything, any kind of crime, you may need mental health. So he's thinking that there should be resources for that. He says he's a Métis person and asked for more education on the Métis and past history. He also asked about more Indigenous acknowledgement and other items on the regional and provincial level, and was looking for council's support. Now, during this whole presentation, and this is what strikes me as really odd when I read this story about him, which I'll get into in just a minute. Stay tuned. He really praised Counselor Strange. And I'm going like, why is he heaping all these accolades on Counselor Strange? I found it weird of all the people sitting around the table there and the people who do things for the city. He chose Counselor Strange. Found it strange. See what I did there? Now, once he finished with his praise, it had nothing to do with what he was asking for, to be honest with you. It was kind of off the wall. It gave Strange a gateway to once again plead his case regarding his charges for exactly what the guy was talking about. Violence. Assaulting a woman. That's violence. Strange got up. Well, he didn't get up because they're at the exchange. He sat down and said, and I quote, I got this right off the transcript of the meeting, "I believe these victims of crime, the people who have done this, whether it's DUI or stuff in the news that you don't like to read about, but you need the safety for the community to go on and find out who these people are, and they don't name them, but they'll name somebody else or anybody else for doing something that mediocre or not true." Now, it's hard to even understand what he's talking about here. Number one, this is a word salad, and Kamala Harris couldn't have done a better job with it. It really didn't make a lot of sense. But if you get the gist of what he was talking about, you look to the last line. I mean, there's a lot of ums and ahs in between these thoughts, scattered thoughts, by the way. And when he used the words, they don't name them, but they'll name anybody else for doing something that mediocre or not true. You can see what his intent was here. That's an obvious reference to his assault charge, which is predicated on him assaulting or violence against a woman. And to me, this Seuss guy was setting him up to say this. I don't know why he would do this other than to get a reply from Mike Strange and lead him into this. It was kind of like a great segue. That was pretty obvious. So why am I mentioning this? Why am I mentioning this? Well, let's connect the dots here. Now, in the review, that the same anti-violence guy, Steven Seuss, who apparently called police and reported an emergency situation at a Welland residence. In other words, something was happening to him. Police responded and found that the information provided by Seuss was false. And this is what I'm getting out of the review. If I've interpreted this wrong, please correct me. Please correct me, because he was arrested and found guilty by a judge after she accepted an admission of facts following a not guilty plea by Seuss. Seuss appeared in Ontario Court of Justice and agreed to enter into a 12-month peace bond. So whatever was happening, he was involved, even though he said he wasn't. And then he pleaded guilty. So a peace bond requires an individual to keep the peace and be on good behavior. The strange part, and I'm not talking about Mike Strange, I'm talking about strange part of all this, is that he was told he can't have any weapons in his possession. I mean, odd that the judge added this. Should anyone be concerned about this guy? I don't know. We don't know. I don't know the total story, only what was in the review, but why would she add that? Did he have a weapon? He was threatening somebody with a weapon? Or whatever? I don't know. I don't know. This is a bizarre case. Seuss is to have no contact with the victim related to the Welland resident and is not to have any weapons in his possession. That's weird. The Assistant Crown Attorney then stayed the public mischief charge because he called and then they didn't find any evidence of anything happening and obstructing a peace officer. A stay of proceedings in a criminal case means the legal process is suspended. So The judge warned Seuss he could be charged in the future if he breaches any condition of the peace bond. So that's pretty interesting that the praise handed down by Seuss looked staged. I don't know if it was or not, but I'm not a big believer in coincidence. This is all coincidental. There's a guy sitting there with a criminal charge of assault on a woman. He's got a face. Alleged. I mean, like it's still got to go through the courts. And he's leading him right into Mike getting up and saying this. And why Mike continues to comment on this in a public forum that's recorded is beyond me. Right? And his words say it all. They say it all, right? It's just to me a little bit weird, this whole thing. And then I see this in the paper about this Seuss guy. And the words, they don't name them, but they'll name anybody else, me, like Mike Strange, for doing something that mediocre or not true. So what he's saying is that the charges against him were mediocre or not true. He didn't come right out and say it, but by saying that, we know what he's referring to. So I found this whole thing bizarre with this Seuss guy who's up on these other things. He's on a peace bond for 12 months. And people keep asking me, have you heard anything about the Mike Strange case? And, everybody goes, well, why do you keep mentioning it? Well, because he's our city councilor. He's sitting on city council making decisions on behalf of the taxpayers. And if he's not in the right state of mind because of all this surrounding him, do we really want him making decisions on our behalf? And that's what women in Ontario say no, we're there for. They don't want criminals sitting on city council, and they don't want anybody with a criminal charge sitting in a city council seat either. And that goes for all of Ontario, not just for Niagara Falls. Now, they were not allowed to speak, violating their Charter of Rights and Freedoms. In the States, you'd call it the First Amendment, freedom of speech. And they were trespassed and arrested and thrown out of the city council meeting, which is you can't do. It's a public meeting. You can't throw people out unless they're unruly or their posters say, and they're going to be charged. There's 2 lawsuits going on about this city council doing this, and you can't trespass anybody from a public building unless they're doing something they shouldn't be doing. And sitting there holding a card that says "Women in Ontario say no." That's not racist. It's not hate speech. It's nothing. So there's no reason to throw them out of this meeting. Mayor Jim overstepped his bounds. The police overstepped their bounds. They are not policy police. They are not bad feelings police. They are there to enforce the law on the oath they took to uphold the Constitution, the laws of the land, whatever you want to call it in Canada, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. They take an oath to do that. They're not the policy police or the I don't feel good about what you're saying police. That's not what they do. So they have no right to do that. So anyway, this is all turning into a big blowout. Now that's why everybody's been asking me, have you heard anything about Mike Strange? Because of all this stuff surrounding him. And I said, no, I haven't. He was supposed to go to court in July, the end of July. Nobody has said a word about it. I can't find anything else about it. Now, the only thing I heard, and this is just something I heard, if you want any information at all, is that he is going back August 27th. It's been remanded to August 27th. I have no idea whether this is factual or not, because I haven't seen anything in the media about it. So if you're hearing it, you might be hearing it here first. But the source I heard it from has a pretty good inside line to a lot of things. And the guy has been dependable on many occasions. The person has been dependable. So I would have to say that that's probably true, but I'm not sure. I have nothing to say. Anyway, that's that. Something I just found weird and went back and looked at and said, what the heck? Pretty weird, the whole thing. Maybe somebody can explain it to me. I don't know. I'm just telling you what I see and what I know and giving you my opinion on it. Okay, so out of that, the short-term rental program starts this month in Niagara Falls, and it's coming to a neighborhood near you. Now, if you remember, the city council okayed short-term rentals as long as the owner's there, owner-occupied short-term rentals, and you can go in any neighborhood. That's right, your neighbor could be renting out parts of his house to short-term renters, weekenders, if you will. But it's not just weekenders. You can go up to 28 days on a short-term rental. It's all legal beagle now. It's all legal. How the city's going to patrol this is unknown. If the short-term renters show up and the owner leaves for the weekend, how's the city going to know? I don't know how they're going to enforce it. And when they say short-term rentals, we're talking 28 days or less. So yeah, they can stay up to a month under a short-term rental, not just weekenders. Now, from what I heard at city council meeting when they did this, and that I don't think a lot of people in this city like this. The council decided to give it the okay on a pilot project and will issue as many as 100 licenses to do so during the pilot project. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? Well, I can think of a million things. If it will run for a year to see how it works. And then a decision will be made whether to continue it or not. You want one of these 100 licenses, you have to apply through the city. Now, in my opinion, it cannot possibly be any worse than the people that have been living in a Honda Civic or in the driveway across the street from me for the last 3 years. And there's nothing City Hall can do about it. Moving into a tent last winter, they stayed there until it became rat infested to the point they had to move back into the Honda Civic. But I digress. We'll see how it works out for the citizens, but if they open it up in a year, it could be the Wild West in your neighborhood. And yeah, I don't know. You're going to have to be the police on this one. If that owner isn't there while other people are there, you're going to have to report the guy. The problem is, the guy's probably your neighbor. Do you really want to blow him in? I mean, he does live there, and you have to put up with him for the rest of the year. So, are you going to blow the guy in or not? If he takes off and lets these other people have his house, and you're not there, he's not there, are you going to blow him in? What if he comes back once a day to check on things? Does that count? He's not living there. He took off somewhere else. Or maybe he doesn't even come back at all and check on it. I don't know. We'll see how it works. But it could turn into the Wild West, but it can go in any neighborhood. They have to apply. They're only going to hand out 100. We'll see how it works out. But it's Japanin, as Joe Gonzalez would say. It's Japanin. Okay, over to my second sponsor, Pete's Pizza on Victoria Avenue. And the one thing I like about any pizza is consistency. And if it's consistently good, that's even better. But it's very hard to get consistency because you have different people baking the pizza, you have different people with the sauce. This isn't a problem at Pete's Pizza on Victoria Avenue. They use the Mancini family recipe for sauce. They use the Mancini family recipe for crust. Been around 40 years, tried and true. And then they add fresh toppings. But the most important thing is they know how to put the cheese and sauce on the pizza in the right ratio. That's so important because too much cheese, it's no good. Too much sauce, it's no good. You want it balanced perfectly. And they know how to do it at Pete's Pizza on Victoria Avenue. And at the end of the day, they don't just have pizza. They don't just have good pizza. They have fantastic chicken wings, steak and cheese poutine, different kinds of poutine. They have subs. They have panzerotti. A full menu. You're going to be happy. Open till 2 in the morning on Friday and Saturday for your convenience, till midnight during the week. Hey, it's a no-brainer. You pick up the phone, you dial 905-374-2222. You order your pizza today, you know you want one, and then you sit back and enjoy it. Go to their website, Pete'sPizzaVictoria.ca. You can order off the website. They do dine, they do skip, they do the whole shot. Pete's Pizza on Victoria Avenue. Great place to get a fantastic pizza. You can't go wrong. Support our sponsors because they support the city. They support the show, excuse me. What the heck? Come on. Great corporate citizens that support the show and the city. You gotta love it. Okay, I always talk about the criminal justice system in Canada. We know that, and we see all kinds of stuff. And I just saw a story about this guy that he had fentanyl and drugs and everything. I don't know, some guy. He's out on bail or something already. Out on bail the next day. That's usually it works in Canada. But I was reading a story from just across the bridge over here in Niagara Falls, New York. And Niagara Falls, New York, or New York State in particular, is a sanctuary state, and they're soft on crime and everything else. They're part of these states like California and that, and Chicago. They're soft on crime. Criminals get away with murder. They don't even bother arresting anybody for crimes under $1,000. They'll go in and steal $800 worth of stuff, walk out, and no cops will go get them. There'll be no charges. And yet, even they caught a guy with fentanyl. A drug dealer caught with 40 grams of fentanyl. 2 to 3 milligrams of fentanyl, by the way, can kill a person. So this is enough to kill 15,000 people, if you do the math. He was sentenced to 9 years in a federal lockup. Bravo, bravo, bravo. That's the kind of sentences that they should be doing. Now, the penalty can run anywhere from 5 to 40 years. So 9 years is on the New York State, sanctuary state, liberal state, low end. But at least the guy's going away for 9 years. And he's lucky he's in New York State because any other state, maybe Florida, he might have got 25 years for dealing drugs. Now in Canada, the guy would have been out the next day on $25 bail and a promise that he would be a good boy if they let him out. I mean, the reality is all these guys should be locked up for 25 years if the country is serious about crime, and especially fentanyl, which is one of the main causes of concern for Trump and the reason for tariffs being at 35%. For now, they could go up even higher. The southern border has been closed down. That's under control. You got the military down there. They got like a demilitarized zone where the U.S. Army is. They're controlling the southern border. It's the northern border where the problems are now. That's us, especially the ports of entry to Canada, which are not under control. Open borders, lax inspection, and the importation of drugs and components to make drugs have not been stopped. It hasn't been stopped. That's the concern of the U.S. right now. And no matter what these other chamokes, and we'll talk about Edsel in a minute, tell you, that's the main concern of the United States. Because just go to YouTube and look up Kensington, Philadelphia, and watch a video, and you'll see what's going on over there. And we think it's bad here. We see these zombies walking around and everything else. It's nothing compared to what's going on in the United States right now. Canada's lax laws, catch and release with the justice system, should allow these gangs of criminals to operate freely without worry about deportation or doing hard time in Canada. What we see on the streets, shootings, murders, hijackings, smash and grab thefts, it's all a product of weak judges who refuse to hand down maximum sentences. Detain, deport, incarcerate. That's my motto. DDI, detain, deport, incarcerate. Where are our politicians that will take those 3 words and use them to remove the criminal element? Who prey on who? Honest, hardworking, tax-paying citizens that have to deal with these guys on a daily basis. You see it on the news every night. People shot, innocent bystanders shot. They just got a guy from Niagara who shot that kid up in Hamilton, that girl, I think it was. Innocent bystander, had nothing to do with what was going on. And these guys are still hanging around. They'll be out in bail. They'll be out. They won't be deported. They won't be sent back. I mean, it's just ridiculous. That's my question of the decade. Because over the last decade, it's got really, really bad, worse. And that's 2015 when the Liberals took over and Trudeau. And I saw they let in another 500,000 people in the last year or something. It never ends. It never ends. It's only going to get worse because our politicians are a bunch of idiots. Cause and effect, you guys. How smart do you have to be? Well, you don't have to be smart to run Canada, I'll tell you that, because the biggest dummies are elected and they keep getting elected. Oh, like I say, I would love to be PM for about a week and have the authority to sign executive orders. We don't have them here, but I'd first thing I'd do is pass a law to sign executive orders. We need somebody to straighten this country out, and we just don't have the people, unfortunately. So let's move on. Let's move on from that. But you know why crime is high and people are running around creating crime and nobody does anything about it. So that's the reason. There you go. Just look at the paper every day. You'll find out who the culprits are, who the guys who are doing it are. It's out there, public. Everybody knows who it is. Round up the usual suspects. Head to Bramaladesh, Toronto, Mississauga. You're gonna find them all. Okay, now this is getting to be pretty crazy. I don't get it. But in this decade of strikes, and we've seen every major union lay a strike on their employers over the last 5 years. We've seen the bridge, we've seen the Parks Commission, we've seen Coopy, we've seen city workers, auto workers, we've seen everybody, every union in Ontario, with the last one being the posties that rejected an offer from the bankrupt Canada Post Corporation, and they want to move towards another strike. And most of them will get their pink slip after this strike. It's their final pink slip's coming. They're going to look for a new employer and a new union to join. They don't learn their lesson. So, not to be left out of all this, because all the pilots went on strike, the baggage handlers went on strike, every one of them were threatening strike. Now it's the Air Canada flight attendants are looking to go on strike, and a 72-hour notice of strike could be issued by August 16th if an agreement is not reached. That union includes more than 10,000 Air Canada flight attendants. So they're looking for a new contract. The union is controlled by CUPE, C-U-P-E, Canadian Union of Public Employees. That union. So they're in a strong union. They said after months of negotiations on a new contract, no agreement could be reached on key issues such as wages, work rules, and unpaid hours. The membership voted 99.7% in favor of a strike if a deal cannot be reached. So they're going. They can hammer out a deal in the next little while. Well, actually, the next, 11 days. Now, Air Canada says they are committed to the bargaining process and that there's more than enough time to reach an agreement. They're confident they're going to reach an agreement with their flight attendants. The existing 10-year contract that they signed expired last March. CUPE did not outline the specifics about what the union wants, but said wages have not kept up with inflation. These numbers kind of surprised me when they gave me some numbers. I always thought that flight attendants made pretty good money. It's a pretty crazy job. Being a flight attendant today is not a fun job like it was in the old days. After 911, everything went to hell, and the flight attendants are under the gun every minute. And this new generation and these people are so belligerent and ignorant. It's not even funny. They're ignorant, they're abusive, and they're belligerent. I've seen this myself. There's some real a-holes that get on planes, and I hate flying because I hate listening to them. They're unbelievable. Entry-level flight attendants 10 years ago made $25 an hour. Today they're at $30 an hour. So what is that? 20% of 25 is $5, right? So that's $5 more an hour. A 20% increase over 10 years, so about 2% a year. Flight attendants can also rack up unpaid hours. They do performing safety checks, boarding, deplaning, preparing the plane for passengers and assisting passengers prior to their flights. The union says Air Canada has been raking in billions of profit in the past few years. They cannot afford to pay fairly decent wage without raising costs for the public. That's what they're saying. But the union says, no, they can afford to give us fair wages without raising the price of flying to the public. And I was surprised, $30 an hour. I mean, I figure minimum wage for a guy, for somebody who has no training and no ambition or anything, is $17.50. This is a goofy job being a flight attendant. I mean, you have to have a lot of knowledge, and it's when something happens, an emergency comes up, that you really see them go into action, and they have to know what the hell they're doing. But on the normal basis, they're just considered waiters or waitresses, and they're treated like that. They're abused. These people on planes are just ignorant, especially these days. They're really bad. You see them on the street the way they are. Well, put them in a plane where they're nervous and everything else, they even get worse. So they have to be psychologists. They have to know how to handle people. They have to, watch. They don't take a shot. They don't get whacked and they're called names. It's unbelievable. Now, Air Canada says that the model it currently is using to compensate their attendants is in line with other global carriers. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in a week or so as they approach the August 16th date for notice. It's going to be interesting if they go on strike. What are they going to do? Ground all the planes? I don't know if they have enough management to just fly on every flight. They're going to have to stop planes from flying and everything else. It's probably rules about flying and how many attendants they have to have for the number of people on board and that kind of thing. I mean, if they didn't need them, they wouldn't have them. Let's face it. So we'll see what happens, because this is a pretty wild thing that's going on here, and we'll see if they go on strike or they do it or they get settled. But I mean, 2% a year. I don't know. Is that good? Inflation was running a lot more than that. Especially during COVID. And you look at the price of stuff that's gone up. It's gone up way more than 2%, 30 or 40 or 50%. Seems like their wages haven't kept up, but that's the deal they signed way back when in 2015. It was a 10-year deal. So I'm sure they're going to be looking for more come this contract. Stay tuned. Now, this is the oddest thing I've ever heard of. I don't know if it's I ever heard of, but it is weird. And it has to do with the Women's National Basketball Association. I'm going to get to it after I talk about my third sponsor, Hamel Machine Company. And stay tuned for this, because this is a dandy. Hamel Machine Company, been around since 1948, taking care of small and big business in Niagara Falls. And you know what? Whenever there's a business that comes to Niagara Falls, first thing that they want to do is know, where do I find a good machine shop? Why? Because time is money. They can't afford to break down and have machines down for a long time. They want them fixed ASAP. So what do? They call up Hamel. Come down, look at my machine. I got to spun this or spun that. This broke. Hamel comes down, looks at it, and they can either repair the part or they can re-engineer it, reverse engineer it, if you will. They have the ability. They have the programs. They have the 3D printers. They have the water jet cutters. They have it all, and they have the experts on staff to use all these machines, including electrical engineers. So no matter what industry needs, Hamel Machine Company's been here since 1948 to help them. They help the wine industry. They help the richest products, any kind of industry. They can fix or repair their machines. And if you have something at home that you need fixed or repaired or fabricated, Hamel Machine Shop is the ones to call. They can do it for you. Not a problem. Not a problem. That's what they do every day. They serve industry in Niagara Falls. They serve the people of Niagara Falls. And they've been doing it since 1948. Go to their website, hamelmachine.ca. You'll see the beautiful work they do for the wine industry and all the other industries around this area, the agricultural industry, the hydroponics industry, inventing new parts, sending them around the world. So it's amazing what they do. And this little company here, well, not so little really, they're worldwide, sitting in Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada. And you just walk in and talk to them, and they're right there for you. Hamel Machine Company. Give them a call. Tell them Paul from Your City, Your Voice sent you. And thank you so much for supporting the show and supporting our sponsors. So, over to the Women's National Basketball Association, the WNBA, and they are facing a strange problem right now. That is sex toys being thrown onto the courts while they're playing. Now, in the past week and a half, dildos are being thrown onto the court during games in Atlanta, Chicago, and Los Angeles. You know, the way plastic rats are thrown onto the ice of the Florida Panthers and octopuses are thrown onto the ice in Detroit. Well, the WNBA is having that same thing done, but with sex toys. I mean, one of the dildos just missed Los Angeles guard Sophie Cunningham during a game. Now, not to be left out, New York and Phoenix have also had dildos thrown onto the court. But they didn't land on the court. They were thrown, they missed their mark. Hard throw, I guess. I don't know. I mean, this seems to be happening. Every city that they've mentioned is a democratically controlled city. I don't know. Is there any correlation there? I don't know. But there will definitely be no charges for this odd behavior in these cities because I don't even think it's a crime. Is throwing a dildo on a basketball court a crime? The league doesn't know what to do about it. One guy that was arrested, he was charged with disorderly conduct, criminal trespassing, public indecency. I mean, public indecency. Has anybody watched TikTok lately or shopped on Temu? I mean, it's not like these things are rare to be seen. And indecent exposure, and I don't know where that charge came from. I mean, what did he do? Whip out his tallywhacker while he was throwing the dildo? A decent exposure. I don't know. I don't get that one. Will he be convicted? Hardly likely. But, I mean, you can get $1,000 fine for each of those charges and jail time for up to 12 months for the exposure charges. And he might be required to register as a sex offender if they say this exposure charge. But I don't know. Is exposing a dildo in public a crime? I don't know. I don't know. This is the wackiest thing I've ever read. Now, the guy said it was a joke. He did it to get clicks on video and go viral. Another guy was arrested after the dildo he threw never made it to the court and hit another spectator in the back of the head. I'm sorry. This is I don't. Imagine getting clocked by a cock. It's pretty funny, really. Go to the hospital and tell the nurses why you were there. I was at a basketball and I got knocked out by this. I don't know. He also said he wanted to video it and have it go viral, saying he was followed and arrested for assault by dildo, disorderly conduct, and publicly displaying explicit sexual material. Okay. Now, the sex toys are of a rubber variety, not metal, so metal detectors aren't able to detect the future flying penises. They can't detect them coming through metal detectors at the stadiums. The only way possible to find them is to pat people down and check their bags. I would imagine could be hidden where pat downs wouldn't find them. Use your imagination for that one. If the fans wanted to get them in the stadiums bad enough. I mean, I don't know. Is this crazy or what? Now, the WNBA says that anyone throwing objects of any kind onto the floor will be banned for a minimum of a year and prosecution from law enforcement. Some are saying the WNBA is being targeted because of the high number of lesbian and queer players. It's a sexualization of women and should not be treated as a joke. Well, I agree with that. I don't think people should be throwing these things onto the court. I don't think people should be throwing anything onto the court. I mean, it's like hockey, right? People threw pennies on the ice and they throw these rats on the ice and stuff, and they have to stop the game and scoop them all up. But anything on the ice could be dangerous. I mean, if you're running down the court dribbling a ball, you step on a penis. I mean, you could get hurt. Yeah, you don't throw stuff on the courts. Come on. And I know you're trying to get views and that, but still, don't do that. Like, if it really goes viral, there are going to be hundreds out there. I mean, you know how guys dive for golf balls on golf courses? I mean, you can start diving for these things and scoop up a bunch of them and sell them on the open market. So I'll put them on eBay or something. You can make money at this, but don't do it. Don't do it. You're probably going to get in some kind of trouble. I don't know what, but you're going to get in some kind of trouble. Now, on the gambling side, on the gambling side of this, one gambling site is now taking bets on how many dildos will be thrown on the ice and around the ice on the court at any given time. So there's an over and under number for it. Go figure. This is the wacky world we live in, ladies and gentlemen. The weirdest thing ever. But hey, I just give you the story. I don't know what the heck that. It's not something I would think of. Let me put it that way. But yet here it is. Okay, moving on. We're going to get to this show. We got Edsel Ford. He just can't shut his trap about Trump. He appeared with fake news host Wolf Blitzer, the liar of all liars and a huge shill for the left-wing loonies in the USA, said that President Trump wants to hurt people. And that's exactly what he's doing. So big mouth Doug Ford, Edsel I call him, totally useless car that never made it, Edsel Ford. Oh, and Wolfie loved that. Wolfie, he heard that line about Trump and he was smiling from ear to ear. Edsel told old Wolfie, who is a shell, he's still shell-shocked from Desert Storm 1. Remember that? That Trump tariffs are raising prices for Americans and costing them their jobs. It's really strange to me that only Canadians and left-wing loonies in the U.S. are saying that. Inflation is down, the markets are up, gas and grocery prices are down. Trump is at his most popular. His popularity is up. Most people in the USA are doing fine, thank you. As jobs come back and people are put to work at real jobs, how are you doing in Ontario in that regard, Edsel Ford? Not too good, I don't think. When asked about the Canadian perception of Trump, Big Mouth Billy Bass up there, the premier, said that he is the most disliked politician in the world, in Canada. Well, Edsel, let me ask you this. Have you already forgotten about Trudeau and Carney? I think they're pretty well disliked. Probably maybe even more than Trump by Canadians. Trump is nothing compared to those two when it comes to hating politicians in Canada. And you, my friend, are running a close third. You're getting up there with them, Edsel Ford. You are. You're getting to be more and more irrelevant as you become more liberal and as you open your big mouth. Then he also claimed politicians in the U.S., even Republicans, disagree with the tariffs, but they're too scared to come out and say anything because President Trump will go after them. Hold it now. Hold it. This is the guy that was impeached 2 times, indicted 4 times. This is the guy who was arrested and was put through a trial with a gag order while he was running for president. and he was shot at once. He got shot once, and another attempt on his life again. So this guy Ford is worried about Trump going after them. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Too scared to say anything because I really hope Trump didn't bother watching this shite show with Wolf Blitzer. What we don't need in this is this big mouth premier who's running for PM next time out. You can see it. He's campaigning to be prime minister. You can see it in everything he does. He's reaching into areas where he has no business. It's Carney's domain, not his. That's his plan. And all he's doing is throwing more monkey wrenches into trade deal negotiation. That's right. My advice to him is shut the hell up, get back to Hogtown, you blowhard. Be quiet. Be quiet. Let Art Carney, Chili Con Carney, I call him, let Art Carney take care of the mess. And we know nothing's going to happen because he's the guy we elected because he's the only guy who can deal with Trump. Well, obviously, Ford doesn't think he can. That's why he's mouthing off whenever he can and getting on Wolf Blitzer's show on CNN. So obviously, he doesn't have a lot of faith in Carney, and we know Carney's not going to do anything. And why people voted for him is beyond me, but that is gerrymandering politics where they get people in this country, millions of them, to vote liberal and change districts and do everything they can to get rid of conservatives. They tried it here. We saw it right in Niagara here when they took away the Fort Erie voters and sent them over to Niagara South and left Niagara Lake and Niagara Falls to Tony Baldinelli's campaign, hoping that somehow Kaiser, whatever her name was, could actually beat him because they dropped out the conservative vote in Fort Erie. Didn't work out. That's called gerrymandering when they change districts to change the vote. Now, speaking of that, we've got Pam Bondi on the clock here talking about it. And we're going to get to that in a second, but I got to get to my last sponsor, Niagara Parks Commission. And you know, in Niagara Falls, we take the one of the seven natural wonders in the world for granted. It's right here a mile away. I can hear it from my front porch at night. Niagara Falls itself. But around Niagara Falls is 32 miles of the most beautiful, well-maintained parkland in Canada, maybe in the world. And that is watched by the Niagara Parks Commission. 32 miles, with the falls being the centerpiece. They take care of the park. It's in pristine condition all the time. It's just beautiful. Now, when you go there and you look at the falls, after you look at them, you see how wonderful they are. You say, well, what am I going to do now? Well, that's where the Niagara Parks come in. They have attractions that are going to blow you away. Go down to the power stations that have been refurbished. Go through the wash tunnels and stand right on the Niagara River at the base of the falls. Go down the scenic tunnels at Table Rock House and go to the edge where you look straight up at the falls coming down right beside you. Go on the zip line where you zip looking across from the American Falls, zip lining right into the Canadian Falls. You're looking right at it as you're moving. They have an aero car that goes over the giant whirlpool that the Niagara River forms on its way from Lake Erie to Lake Ontario after it goes over the falls. They have river walks, the Great Gorge Trip that you stand beside grade 6 rapids, so dangerous boats can't navigate them. They have the Glen. You go down and see nature right down to the river, watching the boats go up and down that navigate them. It's amazing. And Niagara Parks Commission takes care of it all. Butterfly Conservatory, School of Horticulture, the whole thing's there for you to see. So many attractions. They offer attractions passes so you can get one low price to visit all these attractions. And they offer parking passes so that rather than having to park and pay it everywhere, you can get one pass. I think if you live in Ontario, you can get this pass for people in Ontario. And you can use it all season. Just amazing. Niagara Parks Commission. A big announcement coming in about a week. of a new attraction that's going to open down there. So stay tuned to that. Niagara Parks Commission, unbelievable. We take it for granted as citizens of Niagara Falls, but when you go down there, when you're schlepping tourists around that come to visit you in Niagara Falls, you are blown away by what's down there, even though you've been down there a lot of times. Niagara Parks Commission, go to niagaraparks.com to see all they have to offer and to take advantage of their attractions and their parking passes and just a beautiful part of Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada. Okay, now what else we got here? Now I was going to talk about maybe I'm going to save that for Monday, but Attorney Pam Bondi isn't fooling around. She's not messing around, man. She is going to drop down indictments and announced a grand jury is going to be called in the Russian hoax. They've got all the evidence now, and send Tulsi Gabbard a referral to investigate the undermining of Trump's presidency. No charges have been filed yet. No indictments yet. The grand jury is being called to decide if there's enough evidence to indict. This is a formality to review all the files that were uncovered by Bondi. And they put Obama, Biden, Clapper, Comey, Brennan, Clinton, all in the crosshairs of an ongoing plot to overthrow Trump government after the election and reach into the 2020 election to defeat him at the hands of Biden. And Biden did win, even though he was incompetent and couldn't run the country. The cabal won that one. And that's another thing that's going to be investigated. Stay tuned. The I's are being dotted. The T's are being crossed. It's game, set, match. They're going away. And that's about all I have today. I want to talk about on Monday, I'm going to talk about this gerrymandering because it's a big deal right now in Texas, and you've probably seen it in the news. You probably saw it in the news, this gerrymandering, which is changing districts to support more seats being won by any party. And what's happening in Texas, just to give you the rundown a little bit, is that the Democrats were supposed to vote on changing districts in Texas. And this is a normal thing, changing districts, because populations change. And as populations change, people move into the state or people move out of certain areas. The number of people who live there change. So districts are usually up for review every so many years, and they're changed to reflect the population and to try to make the vote more equal for everybody, so everybody gets some kind of equal representation. If you just let the big cities and their districts run it, they'd be run by the politicians, not by the voters. The voters should be running districts, not the politicians. So when politicians change boundaries, if they're not right, they're getting the voters they need to win. It's not the voters voting for them; it's them choosing the voters. So they watch this pretty closely. And there's some parts of Texas that have had an influx of people since this COVID and these sanctuary states and everything else, and the 20 million immigrants have come in, and so they're changing the boundaries. Now the Democrats don't want to vote on this bill, which has other stuff in it that's important to the country, so they fled. They fled the state, ran to the Democratic controlled Chicago sanctuary state, and they holed up at a residence so they wouldn't have to vote. Now, according to Greg Abbott, they can't do this. This is illegal. They were elected to vote for the state. So he's going to send the Texas Rangers down there to pick all these people up and bring them back so they have to vote. And there's a $500 a day fine for them neglecting to vote, for running away. And of course, Jasmine Crockett is the one in charge. That's in charge of all this, right? This big mouth from Texas, her and AOC. They're talking about them being on a ticket for president in 2028. And the Republicans are just hoping that's it. And they're all being investigated anyway. But So that's what's going on down there. It's called gerrymandering. And I'll talk maybe more about it as more news comes out about it and what actually happens to these Democrats who took off from the state to avoid the vote. And it's tied up all the Texas government. It's a big deal going on right now. We'll see what happens. And they call the one in Chicago, where they changed these districts, the Scorpion's Tail. Because the district, you always think of a district that's kind of like a rectangular square of people that vote, right? Well, this one looks like a scorpion going through Chicago, where they've just added districts, gerrymandered, and it's because it's a sanctuary state, and they just do this stuff without anybody saying anything. Whoever has the majority votes it in. So in Texas, because they can't get a quorum together because there's so many Democrats and they took off to Chicago, they can't have a vote. And this is where the problem lies. Anyway, I'm getting out of here. Closing in on 1 o'clock. I'm getting out of here. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Look for all these news items. Keep your eyes on them. See what's going on with them. And of course, I'm going to be back on Monday at noon as usual. Promises made, promises kept. I'm here to give you the scoop on stuff. Then on the weekend, you can look at it if you have time. But if you don't and you enjoy this beautiful weather, go ahead. I'm going to talk about it anyway again. I'm not going to leave you out. Don't worry. I'm not going to leave you hanging. I'll give you the rest of the story as we go through Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday next week, as we're closing into the end of August. I mean, it sounds crazy, but it's the 8th already. The next meeting is City Council meeting is the 29th, so we'll be looking at everything on that again. And I'm sure there'll be more stories. I'm looking at the exchange real close. I want some numbers. I want to know what's going on with it and where our money's being spent there. So I'm going to look into that a little bit closer. And also other places where Doge needs to be looking. Yeah, Mona Patel, contact me. I'm the Doge guy. You want Doge? Yeah, contact me. I'll tell you what to look for. Near Gary Wilkins. Gary Wilkins is my Doge guy too. Together, we'll clue you in. We'll let you know. Anyway, have a great day, everybody. Talk to you on Monday at noon sharp. Don't forget to support our sponsors: Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop, Pete's Pizza on Victoria Avenue, Hamill Machine Company, and Niagara Parks Commission. I don't want to miss anybody because they're great sponsors, good corporate citizens. They support the city and support the show. Have a blessed weekend, everybody. Blessed. We're blessed. We're blessed, all of us. All of us. We're still breathing. We're blessed. God bless you all. We'll talk to you. Have a great weekend. Be careful. Be safe. It's a wacky world we live in. And watch out for flying dildos. Ciao, ciao. Take it easy.